Tessa Hayes had mastered the art of invisibility. In the crowded halls of Westmont High, she moved like a shadow, silent, unnoticed, and mostly forgotten. Her clothes were plain, always in shades of gray or faded blue, and her hair was pulled back into a low ponytail that never changed. She rarely spoke unless spoken to, and even then, her responses were so quiet they barely rose above a whisper. Teachers often skipped over her during discussions, assuming she preferred it that way, and students didn't bother learning her name. They called her Mouse, if they called her anything at all. But there were 3 girls who made it their mission to ensure Tessa never felt peace at school: Brielle Madison, Mandy Sloan, and Sky Harper. Brielle was the alpha, dripping in confidence, cruelty, and the latest designer fashion. Her words were like knives dipped in honey, sweet sounding to adults, but razor-sharp to those who knew better. Mandy followed like a loyal dog, laughing too loud at Brielle's jabs, always one step behind. Sky didn't talk much, but her phone was always out, capturing every cruel prank for later ridicule. Together, they were a tormenting trio, and Tessa was their favorite target. Every day was a new humiliation. One day it was gum in her locker vent. Another, they spilled soda on her chair before class started. Sometimes it was just whispered insults in the hallway, mocking her thrift, store shoes, or the way she hugged her sketchbook like a lifeline. No one ever stood up for her. Most kids just looked the other way, afraid to draw attention to themselves. But what no one knew, not the teachers, not the bullies, not even her overworked mother at home, was that Tessa's silence wasn't weakness. It was survival. And underneath it all, beneath the quiet exterior and soft voice, there was a fire that had been burning for years. At home, in the dim light of their basement, Tessa let that fire out. Her late father had been a boxing coach, and before cancer took him, he taught her how to throw a punch, how to breathe through pain, how to use her body like a weapon. After he died, she found solace in the rhythmic thud of gloves on the heavy bag. It was the only place where she felt powerful, where she wasn't small or scared. Still, she never wanted to fight. She just wanted to be left alone. But that all changed one rainy Tuesday afternoon. Tessa had stayed late for art club, finishing a new piece she was proud of, a sketch of a lone wolf staring down a pack. She stepped outside into the nearly empty parking lot, clutching her sketchbook tightly under her jacket, when she heard Brielle's unmistakable voice echoing across the asphalt. "Hey, Mouse. Going somewhere?" Tessa stopped cold, heart pounding. The trio stepped out from behind parked cars, their smiles too wide, eyes gleaming with cruel anticipation. The lot was deserted, the school already locked behind her. For the first time, Tessa realized there was no one coming to save her. But maybe, just maybe, she didn't need saving at all. Rain slicked the pavement beneath Tessa's shoes, the cold soaking through her thin hoodie. As she stared at the 3 girls blocking her path, Brielle stood at the center, a smirk tugging at her lips like a predator toying with its prey. Mandy flanked her left, arms crossed and already laughing, while Sky stood on the right with her phone lifted, the red recording light blinking like a warning. Tessa tightened her grip on her sketchbook, heart hammering in her chest, the sound of her pulse louder than the storm above. She wanted to run, but she knew it would be useless. They had positioned themselves strategically, with the school locked behind her and the rest of the lot deserted. "Thought you'd sneak off without showing us your masterpiece." Brielle sneered, stepping closer. "Heard you've been drawing some pretty dark stuff lately. Let's see it." Tessa tried to back away, but her heel slipped slightly on the wet concrete, and the sudden movement gave Brielle her chance. In one swift motion, she snatched the sketchbook from Tessa's arms. "No!" Tessa gasped, her voice cracking with desperation. Brielle flipped it open carelessly, her nails tearing a corner of one page. "Wow," she said mockingly. "Look at this one. Girls, another creepy wolf. What is this supposed to be, you?" Lone freak howling at nothing. Mandy laughed as she leaned over to look. "It's actually kind of sad. All that time drawing and still no friends." Sky kept recording, her fingers trembling slightly now as she zoomed in. "Just let her have it back," she muttered, though her voice lacked conviction. Tessa stood frozen in place, rain dripping down her cheeks like silent tears. Her breathing had gone shallow, but her hands were slowly curling into fists at her sides. Brielle ripped out a page, crumpling it, and tossed it at Tessa's feet. "Oops," she said. "Guess it wasn't that important." Something inside Tessa snapped. The years of torment, the silent lunches, the isolation, the whispered cruelty, all of it ignited a fuse she had tried so hard to keep buried. Without a word, she stepped forward. Her movement was calm, almost graceful, and it startled Brielle just enough to hesitate. Tessa's hand darted out, grabbed Brielle's wrist, and twisted. Not hard enough to break, but enough to make her cry out and drop the sketchbook. Mandy took a step forward in surprise, but Tessa shifted her stance and swept a low kick toward her shin, sending Mandy sprawling backward onto the wet pavement with a yelp. Sky's phone dropped from her hands as she backed away in shock, her mouth open. Tessa picked up her sketchbook with steady hands and looked at the three of them. "I asked you to stop," she said softly. Her voice was no longer timid. It was clear, strong, and unsettling. "You didn't listen." The girls stared at her, stunned into silence. For the first time, the mouse had roared, and they had no idea what to do next. The rain fell harder now, masking the heavy breathing and muffled cries in the parking lot. Brielle sat crumpled against a car, clutching her wrist, whimpering with wide, disbelieving eyes. Mandy was soaked through, her palms scraped from trying to break her fall, groaning and glaring up at Tessa, like she didn't recognize the girl standing in front of her. Sky had retreated several feet, visibly shaking as she stared at Tessa with fear and confusion. The phone she'd been recording with lay abandoned on the pavement. The screen cracked, the video still recording. Tessa didn't care. Her focus was steady, her grip tight around her sketchbook, water running down its cover like tears she refused to shed. "You wanted to see what was inside," she said, her voice steady but edged with something unfamiliar. "Power. You've been picking me apart for years like I was too small to fight back. You never stopped to think that maybe I was just trying not to hurt anyone." Her gaze dropped to Brielle, who flinched like she expected a blow. "You laugh at the things I draw, but those wolves, they were never just drawings." Brielle's lip trembled. "Please," she whispered, her voice cracking under the weight of her own panic. "We didn't mean anything. It was just stupid fun, a joke." Tessa stared at her for a long moment, the girl who once terrified her now looking like a frightened child. "Hurting someone isn't a joke," she said quietly. "You knew what you were doing." Mandy struggled to sit up, wincing. Okay, we get it. You're not weak, just stop, okay? We'll stop." "You made your point." Sky finally found her voice. "I'm deleting the video, I swear. No one will see it." She reached for the phone and turned it off, her hands still trembling. "Just don't tell anyone." Tessa slowly shook her head. "It's too late for that." From the pocket of her jacket, she pulled out her own phone and showed them the call log. "I called the school office 5 minutes before I left. Told them something was wrong in the parking lot. They said they'd send someone." As if on cue, red and blue lights flashed at the edge of the lot. A police cruiser rolled in slowly, followed by Principal Dawes' car. Doors slammed. Officers rushed forward, taking in the scene. 2 girls on the ground, one girl standing tall with soaked clothes and fire in her eyes. "What happened here?" Dawes demanded, looking between them. Tessa held out Sky's cracked phone. "Everything you need is on that video." She didn't stammer. She didn't shrink. She stood firm as the truth finally spilled into the open. For once, it wasn't Tessa who was being questioned. It was the girls who had spent years breaking her down. The fallout was swift and impossible to ignore. By morning, the video had already been reviewed by school officials and circulated among parents, students, and even the local community. Though Sky had tried to delete it, the damage was done. Principal Dawes and the responding officers had seen enough. In the video, Tessa didn't attack out of rage, nor did she seek revenge. She defended herself with restraint, calm, and clarity, even as years of torment were laid bare. The footage didn't just show bullies getting what they deserved. It revealed the long, hidden truth about the quiet girl no one ever really saw. Brielle's parents initially showed up at school, outraged and threatening legal action. But once the video was played for them, their expressions shifted from anger to shame. Mandy's mother broke down in tears outside the office, hugging Tessa awkwardly and begging for forgiveness. As for Sky, she issued a public apology on the school's morning broadcast, her voice quivering as she admitted to being complicit in the harassment. "We were wrong," she said. Tessa didn't deserve any of it. Tessa, however, didn't gloat. She didn't smile when Brielle was suspended for a month or when Mandy was removed from student council. She didn't parade through the halls, basking in newfound attention. Instead, she returned to her usual routine, but everything had changed. Now, when she walked through the halls, people made room. They nodded in acknowledgement, not fear. A few even offered smiles. Teachers started calling on her in class, surprised by the sharp, thoughtful answers she gave. Her art, once crumpled and ridiculed, was displayed proudly on the wall outside the art room, praised by the instructor, who'd always known there was something deeper in her sketches. The wolves remained, but now they stood in the sunlight, no longer snarling but strong, protective, powerful. Tessa's mother noticed the change too. One night at dinner, she looked up from her plate and said, "You seem different." Tessa shrugged, trying to hide the flicker of pride in her chest. "I think I finally just stopped being afraid." Her mother didn't press further. She only reached out, gently squeezing Tessa's hand. That said enough. Weeks later, a new student arrived at Westmont High. Her name was Leah, and she was everything Tessa had once been: quiet, anxious, and always sitting alone. During lunch, Tessa picked up her tray, crossed the cafeteria, and slid into the seat beside her. She didn't need to say anything. Her presence alone was enough. Lee looked up, surprised, then offered a tiny smile. Tessa smiled back. It was in that moment she understood something powerful. Silence wasn't weakness. It was a choice, a strength, and when used wisely, it could shake the very ground beneath those who had once tried to silence her. She didn't need to be loud to be heard. She just needed to be herself.